Hi, I'm Vinay.
Hi, I'm Rumi.
Welcome to
Two Tired Teachers.
We're glad you're here. We hope that you've subscribed. We hope that you're sharing this channel with us. This is our first episode. As we said in our introductory video, we're here to inspire, we're here to answer questions, and we're here to share our teacher unicorn magic. Today, we have a hot topic as far as education goes.
I better cry.
Both of us have spoken with other teachers and gotten their opinions about some things that they might want us to discuss. And one of the things that came up repeatedly was teacher collaboration. And I put emphasis on all of the syllables just because it's one of those things that you hear it all the time about collaboration. Now it's a part of how we are being judged, more or less. We're going to give you 3 things that we think are important about teacher collaboration. 1, what is and what
is not
collaboration. Number 2, what do you do to have good collaboration with teachers? And lastly, number 3, is collaboration even necessary? So let's get into our discussions. So I want to share a technical sort of dictionary definition of what collaboration is. And this came from Ed Vestor's website, and I'll put that website link below. They did an entire research about teacher collaboration and whether or not it's something that teachers should be a part of. And it was an interesting read, had some very good points. And again, I'll leave that link below. But I want to just read verbatim what they say teacher collaboration is. And I'm going to read it from the paper, so I'm going to look down. It says that effective teacher collaboration is defined as engaging in regular routines where teachers communicate about classroom experiences in an effort to strengthen pedagogical expertise and push colleagues to try new things. So when I think about that definition, along with what Rumi's already said, I think that teacher collaboration has a lot to do about keeping the main thing the main thing. And when I say that, it means that we're going to come together in a unified way so that we can figure out what's best for our students. Because at the end of the day, as a teacher, my goal should be, when I go into the day, what do I need to do to get this information to the students? And by the end of the day, I need to reflect about how did I do as far as did my students get the information that I was trying to get across, or did they not do it? And how can I go to my colleagues and get them to help me so that I can be better for my students tomorrow? That's how I see it. What do you think?
For me, collaboration always has been intentional. I go in with the idea either I'm helping somebody or I'm straightforward asking for help. And I'm willing to face whatever idea I'm presented with, and I will be willing to try. And I'm repeating willing and willing because I believe this is the most important part. You need to be intentional and willing to participate in the collaboration.
And I think a lot of times as teachers, we forget why we're even doing what we're doing. We tend to put a lot of the focus on ourselves when I think the focus should be more on the students. And I'm sure all teachers out there are probably rolling their eyes at me at this point, because you hear all the time about student-centered classrooms. That's like one of those educational buzzword or buzz phrases that you hear all the time, student-centered, student-centered. But if you really think about what we're doing, that's what it's all about. It's about the student. The students are supposed to be the center of what we do. Therefore, we do sometimes need some assistance to make sure that we're doing the best practices and for our students. And it's just that simple. Sometimes we need some help, or sometimes we have some expertise, that somebody else might not have, and we need to share it across the board. So Rumi's going to share a little story right now of some positive collaboration?
Well, my coming into collaboration for the first time was interesting because I did not fit completely the profile of a new teacher. I already had experience in other countries, but I didn't have idea of the system where I'm going to work. And I walked in a very interesting setting. It was a school where majority of people have been there for around 3 years, no more. They did not have a lot of experience, probably 3 years. It's one of those turnaround schools that needed a lot of help. I did not have any kind of experience with the system, but I had a lot of experience teaching. So my walking in the planning time, actually, in a planning time. And I couldn't understand, do I start talking? Do I not start talking? Because I was afraid of, if I say something, I can offend people. If I don't say something, I will not help anybody. And then in the middle of the planning, for some reason, I said something, and one of the teachers kind of stopped, looked at me, and said, "Can I hear more about it?" And then I start talking about, because especially in my part, in math part, I had the background of knowing the Singapore math because I taught over there. And it was like, can I, that's new. Can I hear more? Can you show me more? And that opened the door for more and more collaborations. Now, I help with that, but I received people teaching me how to survive of what I was asked to do here in the system here, which was a big thing because with my whole around the world experience, it was very, very different, very different. So I needed that support.
Okay, so it sounds like to me that just through your story, that a positive example of collaboration has to include people having respect for one another.
Yes.
I think one of the biggest things that you have to have in order to have positive collaboration is you have to make sure that the people that you work around, you're in a trusted situation.
Yes. Yes.
And that's very important.
So I'm going to use our relationship. The day that I walked in your classroom. Okay. So for me coming from, okay, I know this part, I know math and everything. By 2 minutes in the classroom, I was literally inside bound into you. Okay, this is my sensei. It's the openness to understand. Okay, there is that teacher that knows what it's doing. But my approach was, oh my God, I don't know what she's doing. I'm completely stealing it from her. So there we go. Years after, we're talking about that, and you have been one of that guiding stars in my professional life. Yes, you have been. I thought you knew that.
Oh my goodness, and she says
yeah,
it all the time.
My sensei
I have yet to believe it. I don't believe
As
it.
a teacher,
I don't even understand what it is that she saw. But okay, so she said.
Yes, I learned a lot of her teaching, completely different the way that I was teaching.
Okay. So, kind of sum it up as to what collaboration is. Like the definition said, it's when we work together for a common goal. And not only are we doing things that are going to be the best practices for our students, but they're also going to be things that push us to go beyond ourselves. Now, having taught both of us for the number of years that we have, it's easy for us to get into like a routine that we feel like this is the way that I've always done it. This is the way I'm always going to do it. And times change, things change, and the way you do things sometimes have to change, regardless of how used to doing what it is that you do. sometimes you have to let it go. And I know it's hard for us as we're creatures of nature. By nature, we're creatures of habit. We want to stay the same way, and we want to do the same things, and sometimes it just doesn't work anymore.
Especially when it works.
Yet,
You
when
get
we think
to that.
works,
Yes.
When we think it's working, sometimes it's time to move on. And if you stay in education any amount of times, you know that everything goes around in cycles. We're doing it this way this year, next year is going to be a totally different thing, and you have to figure out how to adapt to make it work for your students. So then, what is collaboration not composed of? What would you say that we do that we call collaboration that isn't collaboration?
Getting to a meeting and just separating the lesson plans and everybody's planning part of the lesson plan without even communicating with each other.
What copies are we making? How many copies are we making? What are we talking for a grade? What are we going to use for a grade? What did you do over the weekend? How's the dog? All those things. Those are not collaborative conversations.
You know, that student, that student.
That student. Yeah. Those are not true collaboration. Now, are they conversations that you're probably going to have? Yes. Are they necessary conversations? Sometimes, because we do need to know what are we copying? How many copies do we need? What are you going to take for a grade? We do need those things. But real collaboration has to be a conversation about best practices for the students. For example, here's my story of a not so good collaboration. Teaching science, this was a 5th grade science, and I was teaching with a new teacher. So during planning, I was sharing with her, here are some things that you might want to consider, as you are putting your lessons together. These are some things that the students are definitely going to be tested on, and this might be a good way to do it, and this might be a good picture to use or a diagram to use when you're teaching this concept. And this teacher looked at me straight to my face and said she didn't like it, she wasn't doing it, it didn't make sense to her, so she wasn't doing it. So at that point, there was a 100% shutdown on both of our parts. That was not a good collaboration. That was not the way that it was supposed to be. Needless to say, it never got any better, and we ended up having to meet with administration about the fact that I was not being a team player, and I was not mentoring her, and I was not doing what I was supposed to. I hope you hear the sarcasm in my voice on that one. But that was a clear example of collaboration gone wrong, because at some point, even if you don't agree with what she's giving me or what she's telling me or what the other person is trying to share with you as a best practice or, a good strategy or something like that, just throwing it out of the window like it doesn't mean anything or it doesn't have any worth is the best way for collaboration to go south.
They just shut down.
Yeah.
It's just...
It will definitely shut the
There
whole
is
thing
no
down.
trying again.
So that leads us into our second point that we have here. What do you do to make sure that your collaboration is a success? And I'm going to let her have this discussion. And I'm just going to listen because clearly, based on that story, you can see that I needed to have this some years back so that wouldn't have happened.
I can't believe that you had that experience. Not my experience with her, believe me. What do you do in order collaboration to happen? There have to be some kind of, I don't want to say it's norms, but I call it needs. Those are the needs for collaboration to happen. Number one, respect. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't like it, but you always need to, number two, listen.
And I'm just going to jump in at this point when we talk about respecting one another. And let me just make it perfectly clear, because this is something that over the years that I would tell my students at the beginning of the year. You don't have to like me. True. You don't have to like anybody in this room. I don't have to like you. And that's honest. I'm just being honest. You don't have to like me. I don't have to like you. But we have to work together in this classroom for all 180, however many days that we have to be in here together. So we must have respect for one another. Because at the end of the day, when you're talking about collaborating, we have to collaborate with our students too. When you're talking about collaboration, it's not a popularity type thing. So we don't have to like each other to collaborate, but the respect has to be there. And I have to value you as the professional that you are, as well as I would like for you to value me being the professional that I am. I have a friend that always says, we both went to teacher college. All of us went to teacher college or we wouldn't be here. So we need to value that person's professionalism. We don't have to go for drinks after school. We don't have to break bread together. We don't have to chit chat on the phone afterwards. We don't even have to share pleasantries in the hallway unless it's just absolutely necessary. But we do have to respect one another. I'm going to be cordial to you. I'm going to listen to what you have to say, because even if I don't like somebody, they might have some good ideas that I need.
Absolutely.
So let's throw the whole personality thing out of the window when we're talking about collaboration. Yes, we know some people's personalities are going to rub you raw. We have stories.
A lot.
We have stories. But at this venture, if you're really trying to have good collaboration, we have to suck it up and let's go with that.
It's kind of you are taking off your personal sweater and just put on a white professional coat. And you go in, it's like, I respect the professional in you, not the person. You're not a friend if you don't have to be a friend. But you're going in because you know you're working with the profession. So as a professional, you sit down, you start presenting your case, or you listening to what they're telling you as an experience, as probably a new way of doing it. But respect is the number one. Respect as a professional. Listen. Surprisingly, you will hear a lot of new things and a lot of interesting approaches to whatever you're trying to solve as a team. But then sometimes you're going to hear something that will completely surprise you. Straightforward, it's oh my God, surprise, that could work perfectly well. The next thing that I think is absolutely necessary is to ask questions. Before you dismiss anything with your team members, ask questions. Why is it that you believe this could work? Why do you think it can be put in place in the classroom? Is it possible that it works for your classroom, but it's not for my classroom, even when we work with the same kids? Because we work differently, we have different styles.
Right.
So ask the question. If you don't understand exactly what the point of that activity, of that approach is, first ask the question. Don't dismiss immediately. Ask the questions. Why is it? What is it that you did not understood? Why is that this approach works? Which part you can modify as a team? And next thing is try. I know, it's like, no, try. Probably for me was the most difficult part until I kind of put myself in whatever it is I'm trying it. Because I was one of those, I know how to, it works for me, why should I change? And then slap in the face, technology comes in, and I don't have any of technology, not at all, I repeat that. But you have to start approaching that and using it. And turns out kids know more about technology than we know. So I start listening to the members of my team, that they knew what they were talking and they were kind of using it more and more in the classroom and the approach of teaching. And I decided I'm going to try it. And surprise, it has been one of the big changes in my career, and it has been one of the most helpful I will say.
And I think that that's an important point about trying something new. Because not only that, but you can find out that maybe that thing that you decided to try that was new to you ends up being like one of the best things that you've ever done.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be more comfortable for you than you thought because you were thinking of it from an abstract way. But once you really got in there and started doing something that somebody suggested to you, you might find out you should have been doing this 20 years ago.
Small groups,
any of those things. So never ever be afraid to try. And this also leads into deeper conversation when you and your team members get back together to reflect upon the things that you collaborated on. This leads to a deeper conversation about how it worked, how it didn't work, what you could do to tweak it, maybe something you want to add to it, all those things. Mm-hmm. So don't ever be afraid to try.
No, and it's the most important part is that you get the answer of why is it not working, if it's not working. It's like, what is that little piece that makes it difficult for me or makes it different for me, and why is it not working for me, but it's working for you? Once you get that, you can disregard or you can straightforward jump. Majority of the times, in my case, it has been, okay, now I'm convinced. But there has been cases where it's like, there is no way for me as a personality, as a teacher, that will work. But now I have the why will not work because I tried it, right?
Now, I'm just going to be honest and say, you come to me with wanting me to do a rap song, it's probably not going to happen. I'm just going to throw it out there. It's probably not going to happen. Even though, one of my greatest wishes is to, in my next life, be this great MC and be able to rap. It's not anything that I can do right now. So, I've done many things in front of a classroom that were foolish to get them to learn something or do something or see something. But rapping is not one of them. All right.
Safe right here. No singing.
All right. So our last point that we want to throw in here about collaboration is number 3, is it even necessary? And I think just in the conversation that we've had at this point, you can kind of see where we kind of lie on this topic. Collaboration is necessary. At the end of the day, it's a good thing to have conversation with your colleagues, especially when you're talking about kids that you share among each other.
Yes.
Now, I've worked in teams where there were only 2 of us on a grade level. And I've worked on teams where there were 8 or 9 of us on a grade level that share the same students. And to me, naturally, it just makes sense that we would want to have conversations about these students. Because like she said earlier, you may see something in a student that I don't see that I need to do to help that student in my class and vice versa. So what do you think about that?
My opinion, completely necessary. Completely. It has to be in everything that teachers on the same grade level, but here's my difference, vertically do. They have to sit together and start talking about how we do things with the same kids through the years or in the same level. Necessary. Now here's my big point of it. It's the kids. I know it's the kids. We work with them. They're my kids. They're your kids. So it should be all around the kids. But the big secret that somebody comes after that is, first of all, it's collaboration makes it easier. It's you get, instead of doing one activity with the kids, if you listen to your partner, there you go, 2 activities. And you don't even have to go further than that. So you have a group of kids that instead of doing it one way, you will have at least 2 ways of doing that, whatever activity you have. I think it makes it easy to learn for the teachers and for the kids. If the teacher learns first, the kids will learn immediately. For me, absolutely necessary, makes life easier. If your partner wants to collaborate, though, that's a big if. If not, straightforward, treat it as a corporate teamwork. We're there, we're presenting, we'll figure it out, and we're working for the same goal. necessary.
Corporate, can you explain that a little bit more?
Well, in the corporate world, personalities do not apply. Team works to achieve a goal, and everybody has a complete and defined role in these teams. But at the end, everybody comes in and presents and builds the same product, I want to say, to achieve the goal. So personality does not apply at all with us because we are in completely different settings. As the goals sometimes are not so easily seen, and the time frame it's not so easily, how I can say that, managed. Sometimes what the teacher in second grade teaches the kids will be evident all the way to fifth grade, not in third, but in fifth grade. So that kind of makes it more difficult to see the goal. And because we work with human beings, we most of the time put our personalities in. Corporate teams do not do that. The work needs to be done and it needs to be done this way. If everything else fails in collaboration, treat it like this. It's a corporate team. We have the same goal. Keep it moving forward.
So I'm going to ask you this question. Since you taught outside of the United States of America, when you taught in, say, Finland or one of the other countries that you taught in, how was collaboration different?
Well, that's interesting. Finland, everything is collaboration. There is no even a curriculum that the school doesn't sit down and everybody punching whatever they have to say. There is no classroom where you don't have at least 2 teachers, sometimes 3 teachers. So they have to know exactly what they're doing. And interestingly enough, they are doing it the same way. So that's one of the biggest, I think, biggest achievements of the educational system in Finland. When teachers come together, the focus is, those are my kids. Personality-wise gets out until they have the plan. And then, interestingly enough, personality starts playing in because the teacher that her personality fits to present this topic is the first one to go in.
Okay, so when you're talking about the plan, are we talking specifically about strategies and best practices, or are we talking about here's your objective, here's your anticipatory set, here's what you're going to do next, here's your next, here's your next? What do you mean exactly by?
So this is one of the things that it's kind of difficult to understand for people that have not been in the Finnish system. There is nothing in writing as a curriculum. They don't have that. The school personnel comes in and they sit down and they decide, we're going to teach this, 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 we're going to use this. So first of all, they have to elaborate the curriculum. Once you have this, then the group of teachers of the same classroom, not same level, same classroom, they do the lesson plans. Okay, and in the lesson plan is where the personality of the teacher takes over. But when they plan the big picture, there is nothing, it's just treated as a corporate approach, thinking about the kids. We need to put this in place, we need to put in what we're going to use, how we're going to treat it, where we're going to take the kids. Now, once you have that, the teachers come in and start doing the lesson plans. And maybe in this point, not maybe, the personality of the teacher comes in. Interestingly enough, you assign to a classroom. You don't choose your partners. And I have never seen anybody over there that does not knows how to work with somebody else. That part of, I don't like you as a person, you hurting my feelings do not exist because the focus is the kids. It's not me and you.
Okay, that's interesting. So let's do a sum up. Let's sum this all up into collaboration in a nice short little bow means I'm going to work with you to figure out what are the best practices for the students that we share. That's basically, to me, all it is in a nutshell. What can we do to present this content in the best way so that our students will be successful? And that's collaboration in a nutshell, to me.
Collaboration in a nutshell for me. I will work with you to get the best activities and the best approaches for my kids, and I'm willing to try everything that is necessary to be tried so we can have the best outcome for our students.
Hopefully, in all of our collaborative rambling here, you were able to glean some kind of information that might help you when you're dealing with collaboration. Let's just make sure that we also throw out there will be times when you're going to have people that do not want to collaborate with you. It is going to happen. And when you have those persons that absolutely, they don't want to share. They might have a successful classroom and you can see that their classroom is successful. Their students are doing a phenomenal job. They just don't want to share how they're doing it. Pretty much there's not a whole lot that you can do about that. Until you get into some kind of relationship where they want to do that, or they may have what I found out now, a lot of teachers have side gigs where they're selling information or, they have their own things going on. So they don't want to share it with you because they have a side hustle. Let's just be honest about it. They have a side hustle and they don't want to give it to you for free. Either way, whether it's a personality conflict or whether they just don't want to give it to you, you can't make somebody work with you. So when you have those type of situations, you just have to find a way to work around it. And you're going to have that experience. If you haven't already, you're going to have that experience. Both of us have had those experiences where we know people right now who they won't share anything. And I know Rumi has said to me that she's all for stealing. She sneak around the corner and see what it is you're doing. We know teachers will hope you leave something on the copy machine, or they might look through your copy pile or whatever to steal information from you. But just rest assured, you will come across people that don't want to collaborate. But in a nutshell, it's you and I working together to do what's best for our students. And I think the last thing that I want to leave is let's just make sure that we keep the main thing, and that's our students. It's not necessarily us. Yes, we want to be comfortable in our jobs. Yes, we want to be happy and all those kind of things. But at the end of the day, is the student getting what the student is supposed to get from each of us? And that's where we're going to end it with collaboration. So now we want to go into a little segment, and I'm going to turn this one over to Rumi, where we want to share 5 minutes of current events. So she's going to talk about some Texas. We are in Texas, so she's going to talk about some current new Texas legislation. Take it away.
Well, Texas legislation right now is looking at a number of points about education. I want to say points because at this point, they're important, very important. They're important for teachers in service, and they're important for the retired teachers. They're trying to come up with a tax cap. So the big question is, okay, if you come up with the tax caps, how are you going to fund the public schools? There was that big talk about every teacher is going to get a $10,000 increase in salary. Not happening. Went down to 5, But my biggest focus right now is to talk about charter schools, not vouchers. We're not there yet. It's coming, but we're not there yet. The vouchers, no, but the schools of choice right now have been taught as charter schools. And what it's proposed right now is to give them more and more and more liberties and open more and more doors of the public school districts to the charter schools. My position, and it's just a position, opinion and position. No, right there. I'm not against charter schools. I'm not against magnet schools. They have place in education. I'm against of how it's presented right now in the system. Unless they get the same accountability, financial and academic accountability as the public schools, they do not have specific place right now in our educational system. Put them in the same plate as the public schools, because ultimately charter schools are financed with public schools, public money, with public taxes. Unless you hold them accountable the same way that public school is held accountable, unless they provide exactly the same open doors to every single child in the state, my opinion and my voice will always be no.
Right. Thank you for that current event. And we're asking those of you, especially if you're in Texas and you have your own opinion about that, and we do need your own opinion. We're not here to try to sway you one way or the other. We just give our opinion. Go ahead and drop those in the comments. And if you have any other current events that you would also like for us to throw our opinion out there, just so that you can see what it is, again, drop it in the comments or send us an email. At this time, we're going to wrap it all up by saying, please subscribe. We hope that we've said something today that was helpful to you, and we can't wait to talk to you the next time. So until then, this is Two Tired Teachers signing out.